Start recording. Yo! What is up, everybody? Happy Friday. Hey, what's up, Twiz? The boy himself in my preview. This is, that Dracula's Tears from Dawn of Sorrow, the super sick jazzy. A big fan. What's up, everybody? We got some shit for you today. How we doing? Let me turn this down on my end. How's our levels here? How we doing? I'm live mixing every time. I apologize to anyone who was hanging out in the stream before I started, because I probably blew out your eardrums the same way that I did Lizzie and myself. Oops. New Dark Fox mod. Is that so? How's the camera framing? I really gotta spend some time on that. Oopsie. Still a smidge loud? My audio or the music? Mine, okay. Pop filter's still a bit big, eh? Where is it? Yes, it is. I suppose so. Here. I can pull it out this way. This pop filter needs to be replaced, unfortunately. How's the sound there? Not bad? Still audible? Let me bring my mic down a little bit. How about there? Hey. Test 1 2, test 2 3 4. I do need to get rid of this pop filter. It's on its last legs. I've had this thing for like 7 years, and it also was $10. So, you know, got my money's worth. What is this Dark Fox? Whoa, okay, before I get ahead of myself, hello everyone. Thank you for joining me. We've got some cool stuff to show off for you today. Simple outfit manager, huh? Oh shit, hold on a second. That sounds a lot like Dark Fox. Let's see, simple NPC. I was gonna say, this is an older mod then. But I'm assuming it got like an update or something? Let's see here. Look, it's Lydia. Here. What is it? Are we talking about... Let me see. Oh, this is Confused Chin. It's not Dark Fox. Front page of what? Reddit? r/Skyrim mods. What do we got? Compendium of... Oh, front page of Nexus. Okay. Oopsie. Let's see here. Conditional dog barking. That's what we need. Merchant's inventory refresh. Oh man. Oh, I wouldn't want to... Cool though. Ah, here we go. Let's see here. Simple outfit manager provides intuitive. Da-na-na-na-na. As in, I'm guessing it's like conditional based on where you go. If you guys don't know Dark Fox, by the way, Dark Fox, I mean, some of you I'm sure do. But Dark Fox is a absolute legend. He's been around for ages and ages, and a lot of people have learned a lot about modding, especially in the creation kit from Dark Fox, because he has a lot of really good tutorials. Alright, let's check it out, shall we? A simple outfit. Ooh, a trailer. So yeah, check out Dark Fox's channel for sure. Simple outfit. Look at this editing too. Outfit basket. Love it. Add-on outfits do not. Add your items. Visual and weight changes. Change the name. Oh wow, look at that. Holy crap. Look look at this. Oh, auto-remove shoes. How cool. See, people are always all about their auto-remove helmets. No one stops to think of shoes. Location outfits. Wow. Now, is it... Did I miss a part? Craft multiple outfits. Was it that, when you're wearing the outfits, you still get all the same, like, armor bonuses and... whatever? So it's not transmog. It's, like, actually wearing the armors? Oh, yeah. Thank you, Pars, for the videos. By the way. Alright, we're gonna watch this, and then I'll dive into what I'm talking about, because this is awesome. Yeah, an outfit mod is something that we've wanted forever. Displays the number of items. Find boots. Item model. Custom visuals. Okay, so there's your transmog, basically. Oh, look, it even puts it in there. Oh, that's not transmog, then. That's just for the item. Wow. Okay, so, again, maybe I missed this part. But so, the idea is that when you equip the outfit containing all of the different items that you put in there, the items function the same way. Does anyone know? Yeah, I think favorites groups are a lot more for, like, stuff like that you're wielding. It's always been a little wonky in terms of what you're wearing. And certainly you wouldn't want to, because I feel like Sky UI equip groups are best suited for, like, weapons and spells and things in your hands. Using them as, like, an outfit manager, I feel like is pretty clunky. Yeah, 10 baskets of outfits with me. That is so fucking cool. I love it. I mean, of course, we'd have to make sure that, you know, like, the armor and stuff all functions properly, and that, like, it's not, you know, like, transmog in the sense that you can put on whatever armor you want. That was always the issue with outfit mods, right? Was that they would always kind of fall into one of two categories. Either they cared about maintaining the stats of, you know, the outfit that you were wearing, or they didn't, and it was like you know, basically just a visual transmog system. The latter obviously doesn't work for us for, you know, balance and realism reasons, but the former has been notoriously difficult to do. It's certainly not, if you think it's easy, it's definitely not. It's one of those things that many people have tried to do from different kind of angles, and nothing. I mean, I haven't really truly evaluated every option out there, but I have closely evaluated most of what's out there, and it's, you know, it's tough. Totally, Nichols. Yeah, so you can, okay, let me read these. You can either change the outfits manually or conditional or both. Well, that's fucking sick. That is really, really cool. In fact, let's go ahead. I'm assuming people have already hit us with suggestions for this, but I'll go ahead and throw one on there. We're gonna call this, well, I mean, technically it's a user suggestion, not like it really matters. Let's see here. Simple Outfit Manager by Dark Fox 127, I believe this is. Yes. Okay. Take this link. Oops. Damn it. Add that. No, that's not where I wanted to put that. That's okay. Oh my god. Trello, please. Edit. No, delete. There we go. Okay, and we're going to label that. I guess you could call it gameplay, but it's more like immersion as well. And we'll go immersion. Sure. Boom. Alright, sweet. Nice. Well, thank you guys very much for that suggestion. That is super cool. Again, we've been waiting for forever for something to kind of achieve the goal smoothly. It really is so much about game feel. That's something actually we're going to talk about today, because part of what we're talking about is these controls updates that I've been fucking around with. So yeah, we're several minutes into the stream, but let me go ahead and give you guys my spiel. Thank you for, you know, hanging out today. What we're going to be looking at for the most part, you know, we're just hanging out. It ain't that serious. But the main things I wanted to kind of get through is that, one, we have some previews of the jobs update. We're going to talk about this a little bit. Two of our team members, y'all know Lizzie. Most of you know Jay. Hey, what's up, Monique? They have been working on their own separate kind of jobs update projects. in kind of like their own time. Yeah, here, it would be simpler if I just show you. So this is really cool. I'm very excited about this. We have Lizzie's contribution down here. This is like okay, before I get too far into it. Also, to be explicitly clear, these are features that are very much in development. I actually have not tested these add-ons myself in the current build of Wildlander, so I can't guarantee that they'll be working properly now. They're very, very early. It's more likely that Lizzie's is not going to, be too wonky because it's an expansion of Missives, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Jay's is a whole new standalone system. It's very complex, and it's going to be built... There's not to say that Lizzie's contributions to Missives are not complex, because it's insane, guys. It's actually... Lizzie has been not only adding new different types of Missives that you can do, but also she's been improving the core functionality of Missives, which she and I have been working together on making the quests a little bit more aware of the things that they're asking you to do and kind of rewarding you proportionately. I cannot, again, guarantee that any of, what you'll see is going to work exactly as intended, but we will see, right? So that's Lizzie's. And then Jay's is a mod that we've talked about for a very, very long time. The team and I have always wanted to do something with Bandits so that they are not just these, generic, like, I'm always gonna kill you targets, right? One of my favorite things about Requiem, as many of you know, is the humanization of some of these bandit characters through text, right? Like, you go to Valtheim Towers, you fight all the different bandits, and then you find that wonderful journal at the top that kind of explains how many of them got there. Drag the above Wildlander. Oh, yes, of course. Well, so you're talking about the Masters. Fun fact, guys, what will happen in that case is that, what's it called? Model Organizer 2 should just put it where it needs to be. Fun fact. Not always, so it's better, to put it there manually. Anyway, yeah, so this is a whole system that is built around letting the player interact with bandit locations as though they are factions. At the baseline, you can, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this stuff, Jay. At the baseline, you can kind of interact with them and trade with them. If you ingratiate yourself enough with them, you can actually join their factions, and there's like a whole favor system, or at least there will be a favor system. It works like pretty simply. The kind of current plan design is to have various tasks that you can do that will increase your favor with the group. If you neglect the tasks or you don't do anything or fail them, maybe, I don't know if he's added fail conditions or anything of that sort, you will lose favor. And if your favor's tied to kind of like your spoils, and also if you lose favor enough, they will kick you out of the faction, and then you won't be able to rejoin, right? I feel you, Jay. Gotcha. So that's really cool. At least I think so. I think it's amazing. I'm probably getting ahead of myself here too, but I think that this system not only is brilliant for the idea of this bandit roleplay and having this be like an additional job that you can do, but it's also, I think, a really solid foundation for just some pretty cool factional gameplay in general. So we've talked a little bit about maybe expanding this system to other areas and, groups if we can get it working and yada, yada, yada. So, of course, that's far in the future, but it's really exciting, and I'm really excited to show it off to you guys. And then the other thing that we're going to be talking about today that I would like to show off is a little pet project that I've been working on while I fix all these bugs, related to the controls. I kind of started to talk about this in the last stream, but let's just say that a lot has happened between then and now, and I'm really excited to show it off to you guys. Let me check. The problem is here, I feel like Steve Brule looking between the different cameras. I have a sick-ass chat right here, but now I know I'm off mic. Does it sound too bad if I'm talking and I'm facing chat like this, or is my mic still picking it up? What do you guys think? Maybe if I put it like over here. Not too bad? Or is it? Oh, yes. Alright, cool. Let's see here. Yes, and then we'll talk more about the details of Lizzie's. Those ones I think you guys will understand more intrinsically, because you probably have experience with Missives already. Oh yeah, Cat Cut, you remember in the last stream, I'm pretty sure you were here. Well, it's funny you say that, Monique. Unfortunately, modifier keys for keyboard is something that's still difficult to do, but maybe we'll have something like that. For Gamepad, we'll have to see. Skyrim DoorDash game playthrough, yes, of course. So yeah, draw calls in the cities are a major issue. This is something we were talking about in the last stream. What I plan to do, I'm not going to have time to do it between now and like the bug fix release, maybe for 1.2.0, but you know, we'll see. Draw calls in the cities are a big problem. Performance elsewhere is cool. But yeah, there's no beating draw calls, as I explained in the last one. So really... Oh, gotcha. So yeah, it's really just about reducing the amount of bullshit that's in there. And again, I was experimenting with, like, not having JKs in Dawn of Skyrim. So... it's... I don't know. Like, I have actual, like, experience now with looking at these cities again for the first time in 10 years. And they're really, I think they're fine. Like, you can add some stuff, or like, I like the Dawn of Skyrim mechanical things that it adds, like different merchants and people and things of that nature. And some cities do need a bit more stuff, like, you know, Windhelm, for example. The expansions on the Grey Quarter are all really nice, but what I would like to do is basically do a pass on all of the major cities and really just yeet a lot of nonsense. Yeah, why don't we dive in, everyone? So I think what I'll start off with is the controls, because that's the stuff that I know the best. And I can show it off relatively quickly. I think we've got everything we need. Yeah, it's not quite as simple as just disabling those CapCut, because at least as it is now. Yeah, I mean, that's probably what I'm going to do, Peon. But yes, I'm going to probably just get rid of... what's it called? A lot of the kind of low, because a lot of it's like, oh, let's add like a plant, like a shit ton of plants over here. Let's add, you know, like a bunch of random meshes, and it's cool, but you know, it's certainly not worth the, what's it called? Certainly not worth the hit to frame rate. I removed the medium shaders option just because it was basically the same as low. So I just truncated them. I'm going to introduce an ultra shaders option in either the hotfix, what the hell, or the content update. Yeah, I mean, that's been the dream, CapCut. There are attempts to Vulcanize, so to speak, Skyrim with varying levels of success, but I've looked into it a lot because I'm like, yo, there's two ways to look at the problem, right? Either you reduce the amount of draw calls that you're imposing upon the engine, or you increase the amount of draw calls the engine can handle. Here, I gotta turn on audio here. I'm gonna fade out our sick Castlevania, and now let's go straight Skyrim, baby. Up this desktop audio. We're in. Tell me how the levels are if you can hear it. We're gonna have to start a new game here. Yeah, Old Sky had optional shit. Optional plugins for the cities. What would ideal FPS be for me? Am I aiming for... Yeah, I mean, 60 FPS on Ultra would be, like, really great. I feel like we can do that for the most part. It's just the cities that really... And, of course, it depends on your hardware. But, like, if you have pretty decent hardware... In my opinion, if you have good hardware, you should be getting 60 FPS minimum everywhere, honestly. You should not dip below it. I would like even more than that. You know, it's like the most that I can get. But I would say that's a good, like, target. Alright, here. Doesn't really matter what our character is. But, someone give me a race. First one that I see, I'm going with. Yeah, and if you have a 3090 Ti, you certainly should not be getting frame drops in anywhere, really, but in the major cities. Yeah, unfortunate, Monique. Someone hit me. Also, I gotta check and see. No, I'm not lagging. Cool. Why is the base female Nord preset so tanned? I mean, why not? I figure that most of these people are probably outdoors a lot. I think most of them are tanned. Imperials are pretty... Oh, she's paler. People are out working, you know? Orc, do a grog. Here you go. Here she is. My eyebrowless lady. Orc female it is. I actually don't know the orc presets. There's some cool preset mods out there. I like this one. Whoops. God, I hate the interface for... It's like... I feel like when it's not done, like understanding a command, you can accidentally switch. Like, it's like, see if I do it too fast. I feel like that's exactly how it works, actually. You have to be like very delicate with how quickly you switch through the options. We're gonna go with this one. We're gonna call her... Orquette? Groggette? Wow, that's funny. Yes. Adding presets, both the regular kind and the other ones. That is definitely on the menu. Blah, 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 don't care. Let's see. You assume people in Skyrim don't get a lot of sun even outdoors? I would. Let's see here, the lady. I always go with the lady because... it's simple and easy and gives me a stamina boost. My favorite, y'all know, my favorite start. She-orc at law. Absolutely. What's up, Alan? Alright, here we go. Alright, what should we talk about first? We've got all this job stuff. We've got the controls things. Why don't we do... Well, let's talk about Lizzie's first. I'll talk about the jobs. Lizzie and Jay. How's my framing? Alright, so the basic concept here, many of you know or might know that the content update 1.2.0 is all about, well, predominantly about jobs. It's going to be about jobs and religion. The jobs update is intended, also we're going to talk about some of the stuff you see here, but just ignore these like widgets down on the bottom right. That's just experimental. They're not... Nothing is finalized, but I will be talking about that after this. We're basically adding... It's very important to me that characters have a means to, like, work and live and not just do the crazy adventure stuff, but also have really interesting options for just kind of living in the world, right? Also, you notice that the messages at the top look kind of wonky, and I'll explain that in a hot second. Maybe I'll do, after I explain this, I'll explain the HUD and the controls. Yeah, just to be clear, the UI that you're seeing here is not even close to finalized. The jobs update is really about adding a lot of those kinds of mundane things that people can do, and just making them like fun and exciting, and just giving you options to like live in the world, of course, as just like a regular person, or to supplement at your adventuring with, you know, not just being like a murder hobo, I guess you might say. To that end, we're going to be offering a lot of different ways to kind of how to join a profession. Just a lot of different ways for you to, you know, like ingratiate yourself within the world that you did not have before. Why is there a cock on my needs bar? That is not. That's a. Okay, I'm gonna need to. Everything you guys see here, all those widgets, completely not like final or anything of that nature. It's these are like the random I want widgets. I will explain it all. This is why I was thinking maybe I should explain the HUD first, but you know, it is what it is. Yeah, so I mean that's basically the summary. And one of the ways that we're doing this is by adding a bunch of different new missives. This is something that Lizzie has tasked herself with, and she's been working on it very diligently. What you are going to see, the kind of demo one that we have in here is just like a proof of concept. It should, honestly, if I just go to like Whiterun, I bet you we can find one. Let's see here. Yeah, it sounds about right, Cat Cut. Okay.
We'll pay whatever it takes.
Let's just back here. Let's go quickly.
We must have more swords.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Yeah, that's another fun thing, Dragon Scale Workshop. So what I discovered through bug fixing this week, as is wont to happen, it's like super, super fun when this happens. there was like one bug that I went to fix, something about dragons, and you think it's going to be 2 seconds. Ended up sending me down another rabbit hole where I realized that the version of Skyrim Unbound that we're using has like an old bug that makes the dragon settings like really wonky. It's to fix it on this version would just be a waste of time, honestly, because it's been fixed on the newer versions. So, come 1.2.0, we're going to be updating to the latest version of Skyrim Unbound, in which there's a lot more kind of granular control over the dragons options, and they work exactly as you set them. That's an important bit. Alright, let's see here. Let's see, collect boar meat. Looks like I didn't get one in this one. Clear out Grey Owner Watch. I can try going to... Oh, let me also make sure that my little testing plugin. Okay. Let's see. Oh, wait, Skeever Tail's here? Oh, there it is. Well, that counts as a pellet. Well, so here you go. So this is an easy proof of concept. This is one of the new Missives types that Lizzie has added. This is gathering pelts and, like, basically animal parts. You have different pelts that you can gather all the way up through, like, easy, medium, hard quests. They'll start asking you for, like, better ones. You get rewards proportionate to the value of the stuff that you get. These are, like, those are the core improvements to just, like, the Missives experience, which we think is really important, because you're going to have these quests that ask you to do things of varying difficulty. And while there is, like, a very rudimentary system for organizing the difficulty or the rewards by the difficulty, it's really not as granular as we would hope, and that's because it's built for vanilla, right? Where in vanilla, yeah, maybe a saber cat is marginally harder than a wolf, but not by that much, right? It only really matters when, it's in the context of something like Wildlander or Requiem, where there's a large difference between the different types of creatures that you're fighting. But in an abstract sense, these improvements are going to be applied to several of the different Missives quest types, and there's going to be a lot more quest types to do. So you can think of Missives as kind of like a freelancer board. You're going to have something like this, for like hunters. You're going to have like a crafting and trade missives that basically just say, hey, like Adrienne Abenici when you walk in Whiterun and she's being like, there's no way I can fill that order in that short amount of time, like blah blah blah. You can imagine that she would go and outsource this kind of work the same way that, like, many people do in real life whenever they don't have time but they have an obligation for something that they can't meet. They hire freelancers, right? So go to the Missives board. You're going to find a bunch of different options for, making stuff, for gathering stuff, for hunting things, just various different stuff that you can do. I think we're planning like a DoorDash delivery one as well. So just stuff of that nature. It's a lot more varied and gives you like a lot of fun stuff to do role-playing wise, right? So that's the basic concept. Lizzie... Oh, bear meat is new too. Boar meat. Nice. Please let me know if I am missing anything. Yeah, Missives are awesome, right? So Missives was a really wonderful mod. It is a really wonderful mod. It was building on the original experience provided by a mod called the Notice Board, and that was by Manny GT. That mod's really, really cool. It was the first mod that I can think of anyway that added a sort of quest board type system. My issue with the Notice Board was that the quests were not localized, right? This is not, what I mean by that is, you can be in Whiterun and you'll get quests related to, anywhere in the entire game. It's obviously built for the vanilla experience where players are fast traveling all over the place, so it works for what it was intended for. It lacks something for what we are trying to do specifically. Enter Missives that has this actual regional, what's it called? Quest system, like Radiant Quest system, where you're actually doing things for the people and the areas that you are, looking at the Missives board in. And it's like fucking amazing. It just takes some additional stuff here to get it to do these things that we want it to do that it was never intended to do. So I'm very excited about that. What else? Oh, something I did not mention about the Missives expansion is that there's going to be a lot more Missives boards. You're going to have Missives boards in many of the other settlements that don't have one right now. We're kind of primarily focusing at first on kind of some of the bigger towns, think places like, Riverwood or like Rorikstead, where these are like larger towns that have their own sets of shops and whatever. Excuse me. You know, yada, yada, yada. You can kind of imagine which places will get one first, but this is also something we're working on so that you have more options of places that you can kind of hang out in. I just love the idea of, like, you being able to role play and hang out in, like, whatever region of the world you want, and naturally, because those are settlements, they would have the same needs and, you know, trade that any of these other places would, presumably. So it's pretty cool. What else we got? You fixed the TNF Solitude. Yes, that is fixed. At least as far as I know. I only tested it very briefly, but it should be fixed. That was an easy one. Super awesome, Lizzie. Yeah, so that's... If you can read what she's just said there. Planning on crafting clothing for regular NPCs, bulk orders for blacksmiths or guards, scrolls or tomes for mages, deliver a food order for an inn, collect pelts for blacksmiths, find a book for NPC. So you're going to have a lot of different shit that you can do. And I think it's really, really rad. Hemming is unfortunately not still a cat boy in 1.2. So yeah, even just the expansions, and again, like, I don't want to oversell, you know, a lot of what we're doing, but some of the stuff I've been working on is in addition to both of these new systems from, and to be clear, like Jay said, it's very unlikely that his system is going to be ready for 1.2.0 specifically, but we'll see. But yeah, it's I think they're going to have a lot of fun stuff to do, and just more interesting ways to, like, interact with people and build out these kind of dynamic role-playing stories, which is kind of the core impetus behind the jobs update to begin with. So yeah, that's that. Some fraction of it will ship and not the whole thing. Perfect. Alright, so because I noticed a lot of people commenting on the UI and whatever, I'm going to do that next. So let's, here, I'm going to go somewhere a little quieter. In fact, let's go to where we started, because I like this area a lot. It's just my kind of like hangout zone, and it's usually like no one comes to bother me either. Surprising, but I'm still going to God mode myself anyway. Boom, baby. Okay, so the HUD, I had to basically stop myself, right? Because the HUD is so tremendously interesting to me, and I love designing it. It's one of my favorite areas of design and, you know, just, I don't know, game dev, you might say. So I had to, if I just sat and worked on the HUD, because there's more pressing things to do right now, right? The 1.1.6 patch it's a bug fixing patch. It's not an improving the HUD patch. So I have to stop myself at some point and not scope creep it. But I have, you know, saved everything I've done, and some of, you know, what it is still kind of just in this build because it's not separated out yet. So I'll explain kind of how it's going to go. I've thought about the HUD a lot. We're going to talk more about controls than the HUD because that's the other thing I was working on that was kind of related to 1.1.6, and I'll explain what I mean. But the HUD, to me, the big issue for the HUD is that everything you see, you should understand at a glance what it is, what it's for. I think we mostly had that. The Frostfall little widget in the bottom right was kind of wonky, right? Yeah, Lizzie said, I'm only allowed to play with the HUD every 20 bugs I fix. So that's my goal, is to do chunks of 20 bugs. Luckily, we're through, I would say, like, and of course, knock on wood, because sometimes we encounter these bugs that seem like they're going to be so easy to fix and turn into, like, big old fucking annoyances. But for the most part, the stuff that we have from here on in is pretty simple. Because I start with the hardest stuff first, which is really frustrating in the beginning, but better in the end. Maybe I should mix in some of the easier stuff. Anyway, you know, just for the psychological wins. So the thing about the HUD is that everything needs to be, you know, immediately understandable at a glance. And also, to a degree, I think that it should be conditional. And what I mean by that is you should only really see the stuff that you need to see when you need to see it. Now, what I like to call, like, the essential HUD is what you would see down here, right? In the center middle. The stuff that you have equipped and the state of your vital attributes, to me, that is, like, essential shit, right? That should always be there, assuming, of course, that you have not turned it off like so. Because you can always turn off everything with the exception of menus with a push of a button just to get that maximum immersion. But if the HUD is not hidden, that stuff should not be there. What I'm likely going to do is take the compass and move it. I'm probably going to clear out the corners entirely, right? So these corners are going to be empty. And this is a working HUD. This is not, you know, what's it called? A final design by any means, but this is what I've been thinking about. So what I'm probably going to do is clear out these corners. This carry weight widget and gold thing is probably going to be removed, and the reason for that is because carry weight, at the very least, I'm going to be adding to what I'm calling the status HUD. So how can I demonstrate this here? Let's make it dark, because then it's easier to see HUD elements. Time scale to 0. No, not time scale. Well, that's actually okay. That way time will be frozen. To midnight. Boom. Okay, so nice and dark. Real atmospheric. Animations will probably be added as one of the patron questions. It's more important to have a cohesive UI. Look at the risk of needing to read a 2-sentence explanation. Oh, well, I mean, either way, you need I would like to have both. I don't think you even have to compromise on that. So, let me explain to you what I'll likely be doing. Let's take, where is it? I want widgets. Wrapping my head around this was like, status bars, sorry, kind of insane. But, so these are all completely arbitrary. I just put them there for the sake of messing around with the system. We got, here, let me just like move these. X and left, that's fine. Let's get them roughly where they would be. X, Y position. I probably think icon size like 20. Y position's fine for now. We'll adjust that in a second. Give me an update, baby. Okay, cool. Also, these icons are something that I would replace too, but again, none of that is even what you will be seeing. I'm just using this as a proof of concepts. Let's take this. Let's get a, let's say, I don't know. It's hard for me to gauge. 420. What's up? 420, baby. We're going to make that a little lower. Let's see where we're at. Okay, well, whatever. They're a little tiny, and they're not in the right spot, but this will hopefully be enough to kind of demonstrate the proof. Yeah, this is all placeholder. So basically, here's what I plan to do. Let's say that this area to the left of the central bar is what you'd call the status HUD. And then, yeah, it's actually a huge pain in the ass to do HUD stuff, which is why I'm really glad that this author made I Want Widgets. It's still a pain in the ass, but certainly less of one, which is nice. And then on the right side over here, so here you got your status HUD, and on the right side over here, you've got your active effects HUD, right? These are really the only two things you're going to have to worry about. What will happen with both of those is the same thing that currently happens with the active effects and the needs HUD, right? So if I, like, you know, just for the sake of conversation, y'all know how the needs HUD works. I'm going to wait for, actually here, let's just do this. Scale to, you know, 10,000, and time's going to pass very quickly. And pretty quick here. Yeah, okay, so you can see my needs have now popped in, right? So we've passed almost a day. I haven't eat, drank, or slept, and we get these little alpha icons, right, in the bottom right. And the way that those work is that they pop up when it's like, hey, you need to eat, you need to drink, whatever. But they're not there otherwise. That is the basic philosophy behind the status HUD over here, right? I'm just expanding it to include additional stuff that is like, let's see, off the top of my head. So we got eat, drink, sleep. We've got the, you know, frostfall exposure. So you're kind of, how much you're freezing or not. If you're not freezing, it just won't show up. How wet you are. So same thing. It's a frostfall. And then you got the, what else? Oh yeah, carry weight. If your carry weight is getting too low, then a thing pops up for that. And then that's like the basic stuff, right? In addition to that, I'm thinking about probably doing the your gear. If it is, you know, below 100% and it needs repairing, then we'll have the same kind of stuff. Yeah, diseases automatically work that way. I forgot about diseases, sorry. So just anything that you kind of think of it almost as your car. When you go in your car and if anything's wrong with your car, it's going to give you like a little light. That's basically what the status HUD does, and it just works on like an alpha basis. It's all nice and clean, like these ones, right? You've got these very simple, like, alpha singular color based thingies that are unintrusive. They only show up if you need to address it, and even when they do show up in that way, they're very tiny. Yeah, I mean, you can do that, but I actually have plans for above the health bar as well. A toggle for me making each element in the HUD conditional. Most likely not. So yeah, this is basically how it's going to work. And it's just going to... kind of one of the things I like about this UI is having everything kind of branch out from the center, and that's because of the eye travel, right? Well, you can... I mean, if you want to... If there's like HUDs, or sorry, elements that you don't want in that status, you can always just go in there and turn it off. It's as simple as like going like this. The way that it'll set up, they're all in like the same bar. So if you really wanted to do that, you would just go here, right? And say, you know, for bar 0, which is where they'd all be, just take this one and put no icon if that's not something you want to see. And you can do it that way. So you can still customize it, you know, to a degree in game. HP, stamina, magicka should time out after being unchanged. I don't know. For me, I'm not a... I did, like, kind of make them conditional a little bit, although there's something wrong with SkyHUD to where the conditional stuff, logic for the bars is being, like, kind of strange. Or at least, I think they might actually work exactly like how you said. Doomblades, where, like, they... what's it called? They, maybe disappear when they're not changed, but to me, if you... Like, let's take your health as an example, but really this applies to magicka and stamina as well. If you have less than 100% of any of those attributes, I think it should show up for sure. I considered the idea of like making it fade when it's at 100%, but to me it's just like, I don't know, because this, you know, HUD thing is so easily accessible. And yes, the when I did change it so that it worked like that, the overwhelming response, which I understand, was that no, put it back the way that it was because we need to see this information. And I was like, well, okay, so I get that, and I feel like that was my initial instinct, and so I've kind of like let in with that. Yes, I like the idea on paper, but in game I prefer them always being there is a very good way of putting it. Yes, and then stamina, because it changes so often, it'll go off and on, which for some people is not a problem. Other people find it annoying. But yeah, so basically you'll have this, and then think of your check engine light over here. And just anything that shows up that needs addressing will show up there in like a very unintrusive way. And that's basically it. And then you have on the right side, same thing with active effects. Active effects are set to show up as long as they're active. And when they finish, then they're not anymore. So it's just kind of all built around being as easy to understand and also as unintrusive as possible. And then the, what's it called? You can hide it with a button like that if you just want to get rid of everything, right? So, the compass will probably be top middle, like right around there, I want to say. I need to figure that out. I'm not 100% sure where I'm going to put the compass, but I feel like that does work. And how would cold work with that system? No. So, it's progressive, the same way that these are. So, this is, you know, these show up not because I'm starving or because I'm, you know, completely parched or because I need to sleep or else I'm going to die. They show up because I'm starting to feel that way. So the same thing, just think about like a, if you're starting to get a little chilly, then you'll see a very low alpha snowflake or whatever it's going to be, right? And that's like how, yes, and then the compass, I like the compass in the top center, one, because I think a lot of players expect it to be there anyway, and two, because there's this, it kind of has this fun design dichotomy, and I kind of leaned into this with like the enemy HUD bars as well, where it's like anything that's down here is, you know, like the bottom half of the screen is like you. The top half of the screen is like the world, right? The exception for that would be, I'd guess, notifications, because notifications just appear in the corner no matter what. But yeah, I kind of like that idea, and I think it works really well. Compass will be there. You get like a little date readout, same thing, you know, location stuff pops up there. So yeah, it's pretty, I think, pretty cool. Let me get rid of these, what's it called, I wants, just because I feel like people are going to keep seeing these, and then I should have anticipated this, but I feel like this is like a common, I've watched like many developer talks, and this is a common kind of like issue, is that players have a tendency to see anything exactly as it is and think that that's how it's going to be, even if you say this is a, you know, a system that is in progress, or this is, you know, not final. Either they won't be around for that, or just, you know, sometimes people don't hear it, or whatever it is, or understand. So then you end up spending a lot of time explaining that something is not exactly how it's going to be. Let's take these, and actually, can I just like straight disable it? Change to bar. How about I do this? No. You press to toggle, and we're gonna give it, actually no, yeah, let's hold the display, and then we'll give it some random ass, call it delete. So I believe now it should just be gone. Cool. Anyway, yeah, so that's like the HUD stuff. Again, I didn't really mess with the HUD that much this week because I'm not allowed. I need to fix bugs, and that's kind of like my thing. What I did know... Oh, here we go. Hold on. For roadmap, do you have plans for the mod? To be precise, some priority list. There is not a listed priority list. We have an internal priority list, but I need to basically build out the actual roadmap page on the website, which is not something that I've done yet. Just haven't had the time to do it. But it's there. It says, I believe it's there anyway, and I think when you click it, it says like, hey, roadmap coming soon. But my priority before the roadmap, probably around the same time, I would say, is when we'd open up customization, which is, I would guess, that's something I'm going to focus on for after the patch release, between the patch release and then the content update, because then at least people will all kind of be working from the same thingy. Not listed, the Xenomorphy. There, we have, like I said, like kind of an internal prioritization, or like you can ask me about a type of mod and I can tell you kind of roughly where it is in the prioritization, but it's not written down anywhere. Yeah, Trello is like a roadmap in the sense that that's stuff that we're all interested in adding, but it's not prioritized by like an actual roadmap standards. What was the... Okay, so here's the other thing. Well, okay, how about this? The UI is kind of out of the way. Why don't we try Jay's thing, and then I'll talk about the controls, because I'm very excited to talk about the controls. And actually, we can do some setting them up, maybe ourselves. Let me see here. Okay, I can COC to Riverwood. I believe Jay said that's the closest I can get in order to still trigger the mod functions. Yeah, there's some stuff in there that wouldn't be a good addition, but I feel like most of it's pretty solid. All right, let me see here. No, not this one. We're gonna go U. That way, nothing weird has happened yet. Yes, Schlongs of Skyrim. Yes, this is all 1.2 stuff, Dragon Scale. The bug fixes are not as interesting to show off, I've found, because it's just like, hey, you remember that thing that didn't work before? Like, now it works the way that it's supposed to. Let's see. So I like to show this stuff off. I wish the game supported grass wind like the grass wind and Ghost of Tsushima. What do you mean, Cat Cut? Deadly cabbages. Okay, so I believe this initial proof of concept. I'm still in God mode, right? I am. Vampire Overhaul, I would say, might be in the next patron poll. So it could be as soon as something like, you know, 1.3.0. But it might also be further depending on what people ask. Grass moves like there's a wind current. Each patch is its own wind current. Ah, yes. Here we go. Alright, so that's our debug notification. Oh, annoying. Hold on. It's very hard for me to find this for some reason. Bars, hold the display. Nice. Alright, up we go. Get out of here. I'm gonna make a save because I don't actually know how this is gonna go. Hello.
Hey, you're not supposed to be here.
Oh, I'd like to use the mine. So, to be clear, like, everything you're seeing here is extremely placeholder. This was like when I asked if they had anything they wanted me to show off on the stream. This is like the very earliest, like, functional bit. Right? It's rad, right? Pre-alpha. And of course, as we expand the interactions with like NPCs and stuff. Yes, because they're not just like, well, I mean, hey, that's the name of the mod. As Jay says, bandits are people too. What's up, y'all?
Yes?
I'd like to join your group. So I believe there's... Jay, what was the way... I'm forgetting, and he explained this to me before. What was the way... Is there a way to get the quest yet? Or you can just see... Yes, when you talk to the leader, that's what I thought. So I guess, yeah, here, I'm gonna... You know... I wonder if this will still trigger. Oh, no, wow. Okay, Jay, you really went location-specific for it, too. Fixing all these... Everything I can think of. They are bandits, so it's like, hey, she charged me. And, like, you know, I don't know. Gotcha, cool. I can't remember which one is the leader. Maybe you?
Need something?
Nope.
Aye. Until next time. Aye.
Here we go. Hardy Herd. There you go. Yeah, the last thing, it's voiced. The intent is for it to be voiced, but yes, keep in mind that this is all just placeholder dialogue, because like you do not want to go through and create the voice lines until you know for sure like what it's gonna be. Have to stay here if I join. How do I know? Wow, look at this tutorial that you put together, Jay. This is so cool. This is so brilliant. I mean, yeah, that is also a big part of, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, but the original intent, this is something we've all talked about a lot. Excuse me. Skyrim just really has this way of making you forget that a lot of the people that you're fighting and killing, they're people. I mean, it's the classic, like, Dungeons and Dragons approach, right? Where, you know, it's, like, everyone's murder hobos if they're adventuring, right? Yeah. Right. Oh, how do I get paid? Did I ask that already? I'm looking for work. I can do that. Nice. Yes, it's a dungeon crawler. Right? So here's like a basic quest example. And she's like, hey, what's up? This guy's mad dogging me, so I'm talking to his boss. PTSD system. Emotion system. I would actually... So what I have planned for that, RK, is what I'm calling, like... At least the initial... And this is completely, like, super, super early. Okay, before I even get into that. Use this quest to show the variable reward system. Alright, we'll do, Jay. I'm going to keep focusing on Jay's thing here, just so I can show it off. I guess I could just go and console myself these things. But there's kind of two things that would answer that question, right? The more valuable items you turn in, the more you get paid. Very cool. And I'm assuming that the items are a, like based on formless of how they're recognized. But anyway, my plan for like emotions, quote unquote, kind of like sim style needs, would be, it was like a morale system. My brain's barely working today. I'm sorry, guys. I've been working very hard this week, and it's been a weird one. The initial plan, I was planning on doing something that's like a baseline, like morale, where it's kind of like an amalgam. Since we already have these needs mechanics for like hunger, food, sleep, the stuff that you would normally have in The Sims, I thought that the other kind of thing was just your general psychological state. You can kind of abstract it. Yeah, like stress. This would be like a good way to put it. Your morale kind of represents not only stress, but it's almost like an abstraction of your general mental state, and it's on a spectrum of like neutral to like positive to negative, right? So this would give me a means of kind of mechanicalizing a lot of the stuff that you are somewhat encouraged to do already in Ultimate Skyrim for like a roleplay purpose, but it would give those like an additional mechanical benefit, right? So something like taking a bath, like a nice bath with some soap, would like boost your morale, or like sitting by a nice fire and things of that nature. Getting injured, or like, you know, being in combat, or like whatever might have a negative effect. Things of that sort I thought would be really fun to do. And you combine that with the traits system that we are likely planning on putting in, or are planning on putting in, where characters have different kind of particularities about them, things they like and dislike, or, you know, things they're good at or not. And you could have a real kind of even more immersive sim experience where, like, there will be things that are generally liked by most characters, right? Like, most characters like to go and take a bath, using that as like the basic example. Not everyone likes to take a bath. It's like a sim who is very dirty, you know, maybe gets annoyed at having to take showers or whatever, so that's not something they would enjoy as much. Or like getting dirty is actually something they might enjoy up to a certain point. Yeah, I mean, the reason I can't definitively say anything is being added is because it's burned us in the past, and you never know what the time frame is. And like something I, you know, really have to stress about this entire thing, and like my work and the, you know, the whole team, like, you see how much time and effort they put into all of this stuff. You see how much time and effort I put into it, and we really, I think it's a big passion for us. It is just also, it's a volunteer project that we cannot charge for, and likely would not charge for anyway, because it's, you know, it's based on mods. Some version of it should always be free, because mods are free. I think that's a fair assessment. And so we all have to, you know, this is not our like main job. For me, it's, I would say, the most important, because, you know, Wildlander not only is my passion, but it's also kind of like simultaneously my dev portfolio, and also a means of honing my game development skills as I try to supplement my income with like actual, you know, real super money making things, like real kind of income. Which is not to say, by the way, that the Patreon and the Ko-Fi coffee, I'm assuming it's coffee, they're extremely important, and like, thank you everyone. So the more people contribute to the project, the more we are able to do. It is a volunteer donation project, right? So for that reason, because it'd be one thing if we were like a professional, like, and what I mean by professionals, I mean I'm, you know, let's say that Wildlander Dev is a LLC, it's a company, and the team were like, quote unquote, my employees, and we had a business together. Then you can really start to offer these, like, you know, more, I mean, I personally think that you can still run into trouble with like release dates, and you see so many game developers having to offer these like terrified, apologetic, like, we're so sorry that we have to delay our game, which I don't blame them for, because people can be fucking wild about that kind of thing. So part of me is like, maybe you shouldn't do that anyway. But point being, you know, if we're a business and if we're employees, then there's like you can kind of schedule stuff with a lot more consistency, because you can say, you know, this is our 2-week sprint, and this is someone's job, is to like go and do the stuff. As it is right now, you know, we just work on it when we can. Yo, Jay Serpo, what is up? Hey, the legend. But yes, that's kind of the reason why I'm usually so hesitant. And, you know, the other reason that I don't say definitively this is going to be in is because sometimes, like, designs change, or, you know, either the vision for a feature or just, you know, some other obstacle will change or adjust or pop up, and you just never know for sure what you're going to be able to do. And that's the nature of the beast. Which is a comment say all your work without. Well, I mean, there is. Donations are reliable in the sense that at least stuff like, I shouldn't complain because stuff like Patreon really makes it a lot easier to be, I think, like an independent creator of any kind. The idea that you have a consistent income through something like Patreon is huge. The team has like the coffee. Is that how you pronounce that? It just looks like Ko-Fi. Oh, thank you, Cat Cut. That's what we go for. We want it to feel like this very contiguous, like, well thought out, you know, experience where the stuff that you see is like, we really don't want it to feel like a random smattering of shit together. You know what I mean? But yeah, so that's not consistent, unfortunately. I wish that there was a way. I mean, we have like the Patreon. The Patreon, as it is right now, is kind of like it's a little bit less than my current rent, which is really my own fault because my wife and I live in a very expensive area, but that's why I supplement with other stuff. The Zomboid trait system is amazing. I love Zomboid. Okay, so, Jay, what do you think the best way for me to do this would be? Should I just console myself some stuff? That's what I was thinking to do. Deposit produce for the bandits, meat for the bandits, dairy products, alcoholic beverages. Let's say Ko-Fi beats to relax and read a Skyrim overhaul too, of course. Okay. Let's do let's say bottled milk. That'll be an easy one. I'm assuming that's patched for it, but that's oops. 3, 5, 3, 4. Does that one register as a dairy product? Would it populate if it does, or is this one of those things where it only populates once I go to put it in there? Because that way you're not immediately getting an update every time you get something that qualifies. Oh, some quests, like, okay, the Feindal quest, the Sven Feindal quest is removed in Requiem Cat Cut. Other ones have more intense requirements before you can start them. Let's see here. Okay, we got that. We need alcohol. Let's go with classic Nord mead. Everyone loves good Nord mead. Go 3, 4, C, 5, D. Let's do 3 just in case. And then, what else do we want? Produce. Oh, look, a hunter. 4 alk. Add item. 4B3F. Yeah, I figured that's exactly what you wanted to do. Cabbage. What else did it ask me for? Meat. Let's get some raw wolf. Yeah, that would do it, right? 3101-479C. Boom, and now we're gonna go back inside. I imagine, yes, you would still get randomly attacked on the road. There's, like, you know, a lot of encounters that are just enemy bandits, and you can see how, like, clearly designed around this location, like, the functionality is. Yes, Requiem removes that quest in order to prevent you getting a follower, but that's actually something that I would think potentially to revert, because we balance followers elsewise. What's up, dude? Oh, where do I deliver it to? Sorry. Here, I'll just track these. Nice. How's the produce for the bandits? And then, where's the delivery thing, Jay? Out of curiosity. Oh, I don't have track misc on. I always forget to do that. There it is. Hey. Let's put some stuff in here, shall we? We're gonna go food first. Food, you got some bottled milk. Boom. Got some cabbage. Nice. and then some wolf meat, and then some alcohol. So you can see all the debug. You should all see the items become owned by the bandits. Nice. What else do I have to do? Meat. Oh, I still need a lot of meat. Jeez. Oh, it might not register raw wolf meat currently. Let's try. How about bear meat? How about elk meat? Oh, hell yeah, Jay. Jay Serpa, that is. Now it's going to get confusing. It's supposed to. I'll add that as a bug, sure. Say 310-14795. 10, just in case. Love bear meat. I thought Bandits Lines expansion was, like, so sick. Raw. How many we got? Oh, not bear meat either, huh? Do you happen to know if there are... Like, what's a very standard vanilla meat? I guess elk meat? I feel like, doesn't vanilla only just have, like, one type of meat? I think it's just called, like, raw meat, but I can't remember which one we changed. I think horse. Help. Horse meat. Voice type of master. It's not registering any of those meats, so it could just be the meat handler, unfortunately. Unless they're... Does it need to be cooked? Let's see. Try it. Raw horse meat. That one registered. Yeah, it should be. The patch ESP is down at the bottom here. Either way, I knew it was going to be horse meat, because horse meat is like the OG. Let's see, we're going to add 6 of those. And then, I'm going to put them in here. Boom. And leader Ember Shard mine. Nice. I believe Jay plans to release it standalone as well. I brought the supplies you asked for. Nice. You get conditional, what's it called? I guess not conditional. I guess technically that's conditional, but rewards based on what you bring in, like the value what you bring in, and also based on how ingratiated you are with the faction. So I'm assuming that's pretty much, that's like all the functionality that we can show off right now, right, Jay? Cabbage and milk recipes. Yes, of course. You never had cabbage and milk stew? It's delicious when you boil it. It smells really good. I like that there's no little thing there. Poison attack. Give me that. So you can see this stuff still belongs to, or actually now belongs to, I shouldn't say still, because if you guys remember, before, all these things are just, you know, free for the taking. Right? Pretty cool. I think it's fucking amazing. Hopefully you guys agree. Nice. I was just asking Jay, I'm pretty sure kill all the bandits, the ownership will revert. Cool. That's really interesting. That's rad. I was thinking that's pretty much everything I can show off right now, right? This is Jay's upcoming mod, Androme. It's called Bandits Are People Too. So it's basically a way of adding kind of a factional functionality to bandit locations. And show the crime system. Gotcha. Yes. I feel like splicing is always where you start, and then VA synth is like what you kind of use to supplement anything you need or can't splice. I think that's generally the way to do it. Yeah, there used to be something like that, RK. Okay, so crime system. What's the best way for me to show that off, would you say, Jay? Yeah, big round of applause to Jay and Lizzie for, like, this is the kind of stuff that really helps me. I'm just, you know, fixing bugs and working on other functionality, and they're sitting there expanding the job's improvements and features because they want to. So, please, everybody, big round of applause for them. Give yourself a bunch of gold like 10k and do an assault or steal something. Having fun, yes, quote-unquote fun, like Dwarf Fortress fun. Add on F, let's say, and do an assault. Maybe I'll take it easy there. And not give him a mortal wound. I'm just gonna punch him.
Watch it.
I gotcha. Oops. Oh, wow, look at that. Try and stop me. Whoa, I can pay. Fine, but I've got my eye on you. That's right, I remember you saying that it, like... what's it called? You get kicked out either way. Gotcha. They kicked me out. That's crazy that you made, like, a custom crime system, too. And they're so reactive. You can tell, I'm pretty sure, did you, what's it called? Did you, code it so that maybe, like, the first one, I mean, I could have just gotten lucky because it was in the middle of an animation, but it's like, you know, hit me once, no problem. Hit me again, now we've got an issue. Because accidental hits happen, you know what I mean? Skyrim's a little wonky. Perfect. What's up, lady? Kirsten. Gotcha. That's cool, Jay. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Is like, if you want to continue playing, if you want to be, you know, the bringer of justice, and, you know, justice, and you're going to go and murder all the bandits, then you can do that, and you can still get their stuff the same way you always could. And also in the future, you know, as we add things like the, location kind of like takeover frameworks and stuff of that nature, you know, there's strong potential reasons to clear out a location, but you basically what we want to do is to make the game feel like a world, right? Like, so much of what we do is geared towards making the world feel dynamic and alive, and not just in a superficial way. There's a degree of superficial, you know, reactivity and aliveness that is okay, especially if you can't do anything more. Like, a good example of that would be that, like, compare our, like, traveling merchant groups with traveling merchant groups from a game like Bannerlord, Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord. Our merchants travel between all the different holds on, like, a preset kind of, you know, merchant loop. I don't know if that's what Bannerlord's people do. I don't know what determines where they go. But the real dynamic part about those merchants is that the cost of their goods will change based on, you know, where they are and, like, where you're trading with them. So there's a degree of dynamicness, dynamism, for lack of a better term. But if you were to follow them around, like, and, like, check their inventories, they're not, as of now, like, buying and selling new things at the places that they go to. They're just walking through them, right? So that's, like, a degree of superficiality. Compare that to, like, Bannerlord, where, like, again, I don't know what determines, like, where they go, but you can tell that the goods that they are carrying are goods that they have both purchased and, like, were selling. When they do that, it is part of a greater kind of, like, economic simulation tapestry. So there's pros and cons, of course. That's a much more complex system that you then have to kind of balance around and whatever. But I really like that idea. I've always loved the idea of the interactions that you're having are not just, like, pre-baked, they're, like, systemic. So, like, factions are systems, the economy is a system, prices of goods factor into that. I want you, and, like, so using this as an example with, like, the bandit camp here, choosing to interact with them or not, choosing to murder them all or not, choosing to join them or not, these are all different choices that you give the player in order to kind of make their experience unique. Depending on the choices that you make, that should have, like, some kind of impact on the world, which it, you know, clearly does. And the whole thing should kind of congeal together to not just even just make you feel like you're in a world, but let you be in one, right? Like, I want you to be in a world where it does react to the stuff you do, not in some, you know, kind of, like, pre-baked, like, I'm sorry to be, you know, I've not played this game, like, myself, and I'm not, like, talking, I'm sure this is, like, a really fun game and everything, but so, like, Dying Light 2, right? I remember when the E3, I use this in my head as kind of the example, and I thought this was kind of going to be the case, like, when I saw the trailers in E3 to begin with. They made this huge point to, what's the word? there was like this massive amount of marketing and like rhetoric around, you know, the player impacting the world and the player's choices really mattering and all that kind of stuff. And you've seen this time and time again in games. And, you know, I guess one of the classic examples is fucking the man himself, Peter Molyneux, and how we all got kind of, you know, bait and switched with the original Fable, which also, to be clear, I love Fable. It's one of my favorite games from my childhood, right? But you have this, I mean, games are the only medium in which you really, unless you're talking like, you know, choose your own adventure games or like those few kinds of movies and TV shows that have tried to like let the audience like impact, those are interesting. But games, generally speaking, are the only medium that allows the consumer to like impact like what's happening in the game. That's can be something as simple as, you know, I'm Nathan Drake, and I pulled the trigger and, you know, shot someone. That's influence. Or it's something like this where you're kind of choosing what quest to go on and whatever. But games allow you to impact what's happening. Because of that, the promise since the end of time, or since the beginning of games is a better way of phrasing it, has been that, you know, you, the player, impact the world, and like your choices impact the game. And you see that in lots of different ways. You have games like Mass Effect, we'll say, these narrative experiences that kind of, I would say, are the strongest examples of that actually being the case. But even still, it's a series of branching paths and decisions, right? And you can explore all of the different branching paths that they've allowed for you, and they try to program in as much reactivity as possible within that context. But at the end of the day, it's still a fundamentally linear narrative with sections of kind of more freedom, and all of it is programmed to respond to like the few choices that they allow you to make, right? There's nothing wrong with that. That's just kind of their concept of the players impacting the world. What I've always been fascinated by is like immersive sims, or like big simulation games where their approach to player reactivity and to the player impacting the world and to the player being impacted by the world is to create a series of systems that all interact together, and they respond to what you do. They respond to what the other characters in the world are doing that are not just you. I love that idea in particular because, you know, I love the idea of being in a world, not just like a cardboard facade where like everything revolves around me. I'm just one more actor in this series of systems, you know, that's populated by tons of other actors who they themselves can like impact what's happening. You know what I mean? Hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, it's a long diatribe, and I've had this conversation a million times. But if you're new, or if you've not heard me say it in the last however many months, I think the team and I, this is the kind of stuff that really fascinates us and really kind of like is one of the big driving forces. And so you can see with stuff like this, with Jay's, you know, humanizing the Bandits mod, with Lizzie's like expanding all of these different types of quests that people within the settlements are naturally asking you for. Like, why aren't they asking you for crafted goods? Why aren't they asking you for produce? Why aren't they asking you for all these things that definitely people would be asking for in this kind of environment? Should wait for 24 hours and show the vanilla dungeons again. Yeah, so anyway, back to the Dying Light, you know, just to actually bring it around, because I, you know, go nuts. Dying Light 2, to me, when, you know, I loved Dying Light, the first one. I thought it was a very fun zombie parkour simulator, and that's why it was rad. I didn't really expect much of a story, and I certainly didn't expect some sort of degree of reactivity from it. But very clearly, it seemed to me that at least it was very likely that Dying Light 2 was going to be one of those, like, oh, you can impact, like, the whole world and, like, change it, and, like, it seemed clear that there was probably going to be like a few times in the game where you could choose between like maybe 2 or 3 options that would then have an impact on the world state. But that was about it, right? And that seems to be basically what it was. I don't know that for certain because I've not played it myself, but that seems to be what I've heard from people. And that's, again, that's not bad necessarily, especially if the different world states that they place you in really do have like a pronounced impact on kind of the way the core game plays. Like, that can still be cool. But it's, I think when people hear that stuff, they're thinking about this, you know, at least if they don't know any better, they're thinking about how they're gonna get a world that really responds to like all the different shit you do, and that's not what they're gonna get.
Yeah.
This lady. Is this 24-hour vanilla dungeon work? So if I go in now, are they gonna be mad at me, Jay? Or maybe it would only happen if I left and then came back. Let's find out. It's supposed to do the force greed again. Uh-oh. Let's see. Oh, yep, they're mad at me. He's like, hey, get the fuck out of here. That's so awesome. Don't. Fuck you. Oh, I missed. No, I didn't. Fuck you. Yeah, it's not playing the scenes, but you can see that the, you know, the skeleton of it is there for certain. Oh, come on, we gotta get the classic. Got him. Look, he's killed. Yeah, so you guys get the idea there, right? More hype for Wildlander updates, AAA releases. That's very kind of you to say, Nichols. I think, so, like, we were joking about this earlier today in our team chat. Jay was saying, do you ever stop to wonder why we spent all this time working on this game instead of making our own? Which is obviously something we think about a lot. There's a lot of reasons for that. The pragmatic ones are like, you know, you need funding to be able to do it. I don't think any of us are in a place where we can like quit our jobs to pursue only this. We don't have that kind of funding. Even if we did, I don't know, it'd be like super advantageous, because this is all, I think, for at least for me, and I think this is true for the rest of us too, it's a really good example of like it's a really good opportunity to hone our dev skills, right? I think this is like a big part of why a lot of people do modding. And the other thing is that between all of what vanilla Skyrim alone has to offer, just as a platform, as an experience, between that and all the amazing functionality that has been added by modders, right? Over the 10, 11 years that Skyrim's existed, and still today, like, we're still getting crazy-ass mods, like the ones that you just saw at the beginning of the stream. There is so much combined work. There's so many combined work hours with what's out there that, I mean, it's, I think what drew me to modding is the same, modding Skyrim and modding Elder Scrolls, whatever, is the same thing that draws a lot of people to doing it, which is that with the stuff that's there, with these, the combined work hours that you don't really get outside of mods, because any developer, you know, with the traditional kind of release cycle, even if they're like wide release cycles, at a certain point you release a product and you need to move on to the next one. This is like kind of how it works. There are very few games that, you know, I mean, there are some developers, and these are the developers that are the most interesting to me. Developers who kind of make one thing and then really focus on like improving that experience. Something like Stardew, or, you know, Minecraft, or Terraria, or even Path of Exile. I know Path of Exile is getting a sequel, but, you know, it's more like a continuation. These are the most fascinating kinds of projects to me, because then when you have that amount of time invested, you can really start pushing the limit on what's in the game. You can really start breaking into new territory that's never been done before. And anyway, I think what drew me to modding is that because you have all of this combined effort, you are able to craft, you know, or at least attempt to craft your ideal kind of like experience. The reason I wanted to get into Skyrim modding and create Wildlander and create the mod pack and whatever is because I genuinely believe that through the combination of vanilla Skyrim, all of the crazy shit that the modders have done, and then all of the stuff that we're doing, we can create an experience. This is like a way to create an experience that you cannot get anywhere else. Not that there are parts of it that aren't, you know, very clearly inspired by other games, or that there aren't parts of it that other games do better, or anything like that. Just the combined execution, the holistic experience, what it allows you to do, whether that's just, you know, all of these role-playing choices, or like building an action RPG character build in the context of a beautiful 3D world, or like making a hunting simulator, or like making, you know, letting you build a homestead, but all in the context of that like wider web, all of that shit. The whole experience should be, I think, something that you cannot get anywhere else. And that is what really, that's what kind of sparks and drives the passion for me for this project. And I can't speak for anyone besides myself, but I would bet money that that's how it is, like, for a lot of us, just in modding and also, like, on the team in general, right? So yeah, that's the, that's kind of my thought on it. Anyway, I don't even know, again, I don't know how we get on these tangents. It's really my fault. Just, I guess, I don't know. I'm really stoked. You can kind of see how these jobs, the jobs update is, I think, a really good example of us really trying to deliver on that philosophy with, like, these new features. And then, of course, you got, like, the religion expansion that's coming along with it, which I think is going to be really cool. And same, like that, it's kind of like those are two really interesting, different components of, like, role-playing. Like, one that's about kind of increasing the reactivity and the realism of the world, and another one that's about letting players kind of, like, have more control over the type of person they want to be in that world. I think that's, like, another, there's so many different kind of angles you have to look at it from. But yeah, it's really cool, and hopefully that gives you, like, a sense of our philosophy. Yes, absolutely, what Jay just said. Winter Sun, so I'm not 100% sure yet, Monique. I'm thinking about, at the very least, using Winter Sun's, like, worship mechanic, but whether the buffs or, like, the stuff that you get or whatever will be just Winter Sun, that is a lot less likely, because there's, you know, that, generally speaking, it's a lot easier to, like, get the core, like, worship mechanic in place, or get, like, the skeleton of any mechanic, and then decide, like, what effects are going to be distributed. That's a lot easier to do, on paper anyway. Yeah, I can't wait for the religion expansion either. I think I've said this to you guys. I know that I've said it in at least one of the streams recently, but religion is one of the, I'm both scared and also stoked that religion got picked, because I know it's going to be the most extensive of all those things. But I also think it's the one that we needed the most. I think religion is one of the most exciting, it's the highest, like, bang for your buck in terms of things that we could focus on adding right now, because I think it's not in a great state as it is, and I think it has tremendous potential for roleplay, right? So you have those two things combined make it, like, a very high value priority. Magic is also massive, right? Like, I think that's another area where there's a lot of fun that we could add. I would say the impact on role-playing is not quite as intense, because obviously that only exists, well, sort of for mages. Where that one can impact role-play is, like, not just, like, mages use magic in a world that is, like, somewhat ubiquitous in terms of its treatment of magic. The roleplay potential could come from, like, you know, yeah, it's still magic, but, like, what other kinds of people might use magic? You've got, you know, nature-y people who might use some sort of nature magic. You have, like, that kind of, like, elemental perspective. You have stuff like soul magic is, like, its own separate thing within the world of you know, the Elder Scrolls. So you could kind of imagine, you know, both good and evil and neutral characters that utilize these different types of magic in some way. So it's really cool. But looks like that one will take a backseat for religion for now. I have very briefly looked at Divines and Daedra, other token, but I promise that I will be. Yes, consequences are a huge part of the philosophy, Burke. It should not just be I mean, depending on who you're talking about, like which divine, I think generally speaking, my personal philosophy would be like the 9 divines or 8 divines, I guess, depending on how you're politically inclined. The divines, we'll call them, should be the safest. I think that they should be the slow burn. I think that their stuff should be, you know, reasonably powerful, but probably not anything like the power you're going to see from some shit like a Daedric prince or like one of the crazier gods, right? I would imagine the Daedra to be kind of they're kind of like your mostly benevolent but also mostly passive gods. You don't really have to worry so much about consequences from like failing your worship or like whatever. On the opposite end of that spectrum, you would have the Daedra, who my immediate philosophy toward would be like, yo, these are the intense as fuck Pantheon members. They want you to do some crazy shit to gain their favor, and when you do it, who boy are they gonna like hit you with that Daedric corrupting power. Like the reason why people always go nuts trying to pursue Daedric influence and power within the Elder Scrolls. And also like, fuck me, are they vindictive if you don't do what they want? Or even if they're just feeling like it. So they're like the riskier ones. So if everything is kind of evaluated on a spectrum of like power to like potential consequence, those are probably the two opposite ends of the spectrum. And then everything in between maybe is like a mix of those. But that's kind of the philosophy that I have on it. I don't know, Shadow Song. I mean, that's the kind of stuff. That's the other cool thing is that if you look at the team, and something I'm actually getting chills just thinking about this. But what I'm so proud of is that if you look at all of us, like what we are able to do now, both individually and as a team, is just so much more nuts compared to what we were able to do, 1-2 years ago. So now it's just this really exciting time to be working on the project because it really is like you can see like with this stuff, with like Lizzie and Jay, we're like, oh shit, I wish we had this feature. I wish like this worked like this. We can just, in a lot of cases, just do it now. It's of course like a time consideration, and like sometimes we might not know how to do something and we have to kind of like spend a lot of time to like learn it. But that's how we keep getting better at shit, and it's really exciting to be at a point where we can kind of like. For the longest time, it was kind of like, well, I'd really like this feature, but like, this is way beyond my ability or our abilities, and that's just how it was. We approximate it as best we can, or we just don't add it, and whatever. Now, it's like the sky's the limit. So now, interestingly, one of the big issues is like, for me, like prioritization and organization, right? Like my organization has never been good, and that's why I'm also very glad to have the team to kind of keep me in check, and I'm trying to get better at it. But stuff like prioritization and making sure that I'm not, now that we have all of these kind of tools at our disposal, and to be clear, I hope that doesn't sound like immodest. Like a big part of the reason why we are able to do all this stuff is because the modding community is insane. We have learned so much from just so many different people across a million different projects. Everyone is so willing to like help out and teach you things, and like we're always sharing resources between projects, and like I spend like so much time in like the Wabbajack Discord and the Skyrim Mods Discord, just like chatting and communicating with other authors, like seeing what they're doing, benefiting from what they're doing, hopefully them benefiting from what we're doing as well. It's just nuts. And so all of this kind of allows it's kind of like the cathedral approach in a sense, as it's always said. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it's brought us to a point where we're now like, I really got to prioritize because there's really so many different things we could do at any given time, and you have to really look at what is the highest value for the time, I guess. I say this like it's news. I'm sure it's not news to many of you who are, used to working that way or have good project managers or whatever. My wife is very much that way. She's been very like organized since she was a child. She was like a child athlete who was like going nuts, and so she's taught me a lot of stuff. Whereas I was stereotypically, like much lazier, did not really learn any of those kinds of organization skills at any point. So yeah, that's the big challenge now. But it's a cool spot to, excuse me, I'm choking on water. Cool spot to be in. And I don't know, and it's and the fact that all you guys are like interested in it too, kind of like they say that validation should not be your motivation, and I agree with that for sure. It should be something intrinsic at the heart of it. But it sure is, and it's a double-edged sword, of course, because the more public your shit is, the scarier it can be. But it is pretty fucking cool. I think here I can speak for all of us on the team when like we make something or like we do a stream or whatever, and then we see you guys like hanging out and being like, yo, like that's cool, or like, oh, what if we did this, or like, oh, can you do this, and like it's kind of collaborative that way too. And just thinking that you're like, okay, I'm not fucking crazy, this is pretty cool, right? Like it's not just me who thinks so. That's a cool feeling too. Anyway, what time? Jesus Christ. All right, it's 2:30, so I don't have a ton of time, but I would be remiss if I did not show you guys. So here, I'm afraid that my contribution might kind of pale compared to Lizzie and Jay's, because we've obviously seen some amazing shit in this stream. But this is something that I've been working on because I think it's pretty important. I think that this is controls, right? I haven't like mapped the latest kind of control scheme, but I can show you guys how it's going to work, and I know that it can work this way, or very likely going to work. So I think that with the current control scheme, y'all know that I've loved the controller for a long time. Like, I think I was intrigued and just kind of really what's the term? Really enamored with it when I first kind of grabbed my controller, when I had true directional movement and smooth cam in. I'll show you kind of like what you guys have seen it, but I grabbed my controller and I was like, holy shit. Like these improvements to like just the player controller, not the gamepad controller I mean, but like the player controller from a dev perspective, like the way the player moves, just the game feel of like moving around is just so fucking cool. Kind of like the smooth analog movement and like being able to, you know, just like really like immersively kind of like navigate the world this way. I was like, yo, when I saw this and saw just how like immersive it was, I was like, yo, controller is important to me, right? With that said, even with the input of, there's a pun there, it's probably in my head, with the introduction instead of input, we'll say, of auto input switch, which allows us to use the controller and the keyboard, which was a fucking revolution. Like, God, like Parapets again, amazing. Who just I was on Reddit, or sorry, the Skyrim mods Discord. And I was like, yo, does anyone know of a way that you can use keyboard and gamepad at the same time? Because I knew that I wanted the gamepad, but I knew the gamepad, you know, has like, what, 10 buttons, 12 buttons? And there's like a bajillion fucking controls in this game in Wildlander. So I was like, is there a way that someone can use the gamepad and the controller, or sorry, and the keyboard at the same time so they can still have access to all these hotkeys and shit? And Parapets was like, I think I'm going to take a crack at that, and then just made it. So now we can use both. So that was a revolution. It's just amazing. So that got us to where we are now, where, you know, on the control scheme, many of you might have noticed that it says, like, for best results, use the gamepad and the keyboard simultaneously. My goal with that was to just really drive home the message to people that, like, yeah, you can use the gamepad, and it's cool to go around the world and stuff, but you are still going to have to rely on the keyboard to do a lot of the shit, which is not ideal, right? Yo, thank you for 4 months at all. Yo, thank you so much. That's very sweet for you to say. Thank you for 4 months. Yeah, anyway, this is my big old diatribe. Hopefully you're not bored of hearing me rant about 3,000 things at this point. I'll cut it short. I thought that the gamepad was still in serious need of some TLC, and there were still some gaps in the keyboard controls as well, right? I would say like the biggest one, and this will spoil some element of this control improvement, but easy wheel menu is, I think, an excellent control method or addition to the kind of pipeline, since of course it's very hard to remember all of these fucking commands. Let's say even if you're using the keyboard, which the game is primarily designed for, it's very hard to remember like where all this stuff is mapped. I don't even remember, and I'm the one who designed it. I always have to check the controls. So getting the controls in there was a help, but it's still a little bit awkward, right? Like I don't want to have to remember all that stuff or check the controls every time. And the easy wheel menu was a really cool supplement to that. So we're definitely bringing that back. I don't have it installed right now because I didn't have time to get it set up before the stream. But easy wheel menu is making a triumphant return. It just got a re-release, a sequel that is even more improved. So it's really rad. And the wheels will be organized, I think, in a very intuitive way, and you'll kind of see what I mean. And the other bit here is that when I talked about, let me tell you what prompted this. Some of you may have noticed that, yeah, I mean, I'll write hella plugins. Here's a good example. Back when we first implemented Easy Wheel, I didn't know shit about Papyrus. I relied on the team to put together, like, Hazard specifically at the time. He put together some of the Easy Wheels that we used and, like, added custom, functions and powers and stuff to it. Because even that was, like, way too intimidating for me. I just didn't know how to do it. Now I can add fucking anything I want to the Easy Wheel, because that's like a basic Papyrus compared to some of the stuff that we've been doing. So that's really exciting. So return of Easy Wheel. And also the gamepad controls. I've been talking to you guys for a long time about wanting, like modifier keys or just like more robust gamepad controls. I was thinking about potentially going back to Gamepad++. I mentioned this about a month ago. And when I did that, several of you were like, yo, just so you know, Steam's like controller configurator is actually really powerful now, and one user kind of messaged me telling me a little bit about it, and they said they were actually going to work on their own control scheme in the meantime. I was like, yeah, go nuts. But I was really intrigued by it. I wanted to look into it, and as it turns out, it is like really fucking amazing. In fact, actually, I don't know if I have it turned on here. I would need to go and make sure. But long story short, the stream controller configurator allows you to set modifier keys to, you know, have, in fact, you know what? Here, let me make sure, just so I'm not like talking shit. We're gonna quit. Let me double check that my, let's see, Elder Scrolls, here we go. Properties, controller. Okay, enable Steam input. Chill. Nice. We did it. So I've not configured this completely yet. I know I'm being really dodgy here. Basically, I'm going to be bringing this new control scheme to the build. I'm not sure exactly which version it's going to go in probably 1.2.0, but that's if there's time to like finalize it. I'd like to think it's pretty far along as it is. But yeah, it's really fucking cool, and I think it's going to work really well. You guys can give me some critiques on like the defaults that I've set here, and let me know if you feel like I've missed anything. But you can see what it all looks like when I bring up the new control scheme image. That was the thing I kind of wanted to finalize for the sake of this stream, because I'm pretty proud of it. It's also just, it's another thing that's kind of similar to HUD design, and it's very fun for me to do. So let's check this out real fast. The ability to sit back and play with the controller. Really, AO Bard? Well, I have something. Okay, here you can see it, bottom right. Config loaded, Furpus. That was what I lovingly titled this initial build. And again, there's only like one thing mapped just to see that it could work. We can map it together if you like. And I can show you. TikTok. Alright, so here's the new control scheme, right? Basically, now hopefully when you look at this, it doesn't just make your brain turn off because it looks complex. I try to make it pretty easy to understand, at least as easy as something like this can be to understand. The keyboard controls should be the same as the last, you know, version that you guys saw, but you can see at the top that the control scheme is a lot more robust. So let me see. I'm gonna kind of bring this up so I get my pointer here. Now the way that this whole thing works, right, is that you essentially have this one modifier key, and that is right bumper. Right bumper is just a function button, as you've seen it on any sort of keyboard before. You hold right bumper and then hit the buttons and different things happen. I wanted to keep it that simple. I didn't want to fuck with any of the stuff that we'd formerly done with things like Gamepad++, where, again, brilliant mod, super robust, but the stuff like multi-tap and like long tap and like all these kinds of things, I wanted to keep it very simple. There's one modifier key, and through the combo of that modifier key and just the buttons that we have, you should really be able to access everything that you're going to need in order to just play the game as fully on Gamepad with only a Gamepad. The idea is that you should not need to touch the keyboard if you want to play with Gamepad, which is why I have removed that little section, like talking about it, right? I can show you how this works. Here, let's get on out of here. System, mod configuration. No, I don't need to do that. I actually need to bring up the Steam. I thought like the middle button could do it. That's why I didn't think it was on, but I guess it is. Maybe because I'm not in big picture. I'm gonna do setting. No, not you. Library, and we're gonna do properties, controller general settings. Can I not open it? How do I open it from within the thing? I might have to go into like big picture mode to configure it. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But I promise that it's you know, it works and it functions. You can basically hold. I really wish I could show it. Maybe I just will go into big picture mode. Shush. Back. Let's go. Can I do that mid-game? Do you guys know? Big picture. I would like to cat cut. It's just really tough. I would need to ask the creator of Skyrim Unbound Reborn, because we make a lot of changes to the way the game starts in order to not do that. It's one of those things where, like, I don't, obviously people like to skip past the vanilla start in general, but it would be nice to have the option. It's just not tremendously high priority. Okay, we're gonna see. Now if I go like this, do I get my... No, I still don't get the option to bring it up. Gosh darn it. Well, either way, I mean, fuck it. We'll just look at it here. You can see, like, how it works. So the idea is you have most of your kind of basic controls, right, on the buttons. Just pressing them, like, most of this stuff is vanilla even. The difference from vanilla would be like switch shoulder, camera, you got help and control, so you'll always be able to get to this like really easily, and you can hide HUD. And then the rest of it, that's vanilla as well. Pastime, pause, and all of these are vanilla except for target lock, which is, a new feature. Oh yeah, my profile picture is a reference. My whole Steam name is a reference to the Tuxedo, the classic amazing movie, right? So yeah, you have the modifier key that's going to get you everything else. So you got power and shout. Focus is survival vision. I'm probably just going to rebrand it. You got lantern. You got quick restore. I don't know what to put on A yet. That's where I had power and shout, but I actually like it better on right trigger, so I'm not sure. Switch camera. So all of this started because one of the tickets that I have on the current 1.1.6 tracker is, many of you have noticed it's very annoying to like switch your camera back, right? In fact, actually, I think that's the only thing that I have mapped. So you can see, now normally to do that, the way that it's currently configured in 1.1.5 is to switch your camera, you have to click and hold the right stick, and then you let it go, and that brings you back in, right? This is very annoying. The reason, okay, Dragon Scale Workshop, the reason that I have the switch on that button is because switching your perspective from first to third has always been on the right stick click, right? So it's very annoying having to like hold it down. It's a violation of expectation for the player. It's just very awkward. So that was like the original impetus. So now you can see if I just hold right bumper and then click it, boom. So you can keep target lock exactly where it is. It's super easy. The kind of the big philosophy for this input design is that like you should not need to hold anything down ever. I don't like those kinds of controls. You shouldn't need to hold something down for a certain amount of time then let go either. That's how that currently works, and I think it's part of why it feels so weird. I think an important component of buttons is that like maybe the like hold down is okay, but not if it registers when you let the button up. There should be a specific amount of time that passes that you can get used to before the input is registered. Even that, I don't like it. I like inputs that happen the second you press the button. That to me is a big component of game feel. Exceptions, and even not really exceptions, but if you've ever played like, what's it called? Like, I love Dark Souls, I love the Souls games. The input buffering is like kind of like a controversial thing for a lot of people. Input buffering refers to like when you put in an input and then the game kind of waits for an animation event to play out and then registers the input or doesn't. It takes a lot of, practice to start to get a sense of when the game is going to register the input or not, or when it's going to register the input twice. It's just very like not great, right? So a big kind of focus of this input design was just making it so that everything is just a button press. When you hit the button, that is when the input will register, and it should feel super responsive and rad, right? So that's kind of like a basic idea. So using the camera as an example, I hold right bumper, nothing happens, but the second I click, boom, it's there. Just nice and responsive, exactly the way that you would expect. And that's the kind of philosophy behind all of it. So you'll be able to access your your different wheels you can see by holding right bumper and the gamepad. Some other random shit is just kind of put places that I thought it made sense, and of course focusing on the inputs and the controls that are essential. So something like quick restore, something like focusing, or the lantern. Those are all things that I want you to be able to just hit without having to go into like a menu. Yes, RT for shout might feel a bit weird because you have to do like this. I put it there and I haven't really tested it. RB plus A, sorry, right bumper plus A is where I originally had it. And maybe I'll put it back there and I'll just remove that one entirely because RB plus RT is kind of odd. I think that maybe just might be one that I like leave off. Or maybe put on something that's like not essential by any means. Well, the texture work overhauls. Oh, there's a bunch of different ones in there. What's up? I'm your Greg. You can check it in the mod organizer too if you open it up through the launcher. You can see kind of all the stuff that's going on in there. But yeah, so that was the design, and then the other important factor here was making sure that we could replicate this design for people easily, because that's always been the difficulty, right? Or one of the difficulties. And as it turns out, so at the very least, the reason why I even bothered to dive into this is because I know that at the very least, in the worst case scenario, I can upload my configuration to like the Steam cloud and then people can download it themselves. I would prefer that you guys don't have to do that. Y'all know that we're all about the one-click install and kind of installing things just automatically. I can't say for certain that we're going to be able to do that, but I think there's a very good chance that we are going to be able to do that. The reason for that is that I figured out, it wasn't very hard, but I figured out where there's two things you have to worry about. One is where the local config is exported to, because we have to make sure we can put this configuration, like the file, in the right spot on your system automatically on installation. And the second part is that in order for any of this stuff to work, your Steam needs to be set to allow like Steam input for the game. Otherwise, just, it'll register your controller, but it won't say, hey, apply the Steam benefits to that controller input. So we have to make sure that we can turn that on. We just have to be careful about how we do that because we don't want to adjust your settings globally across other Steam games. So we don't want to fuck up. We want to be completely non-destructive the way that everything else is. So we don't want to fuck up your controls for other games. We want to make sure whatever change we make, it's something that has to only change this game, and it has to remember what the settings were before so that it can change them back. So that's kind of like the trickier part. But really, I don't think it's going to be that tricky. I think it's simpler than stuff we already do. And again, worst case scenario, you guys just go into the menu and manually download it, which is a pain in the ass, but something you only have to do once, and ipso facto, you'll have the cool control scheme. And yeah, that's basically it. I don't know if this, again, I think given what we looked at in the first part of the stream and how impressive that was, is, it's a tough act to beat, but I did work very hard on this, and it's a lot of fun for me to put these kinds of things together. I've always been really interested in just like game feel and controls, and also it's fun to like make these sort of overlays. Oh, thank you so much, Great Badinsky. Also, what's up? Thank you very much. I did try. And also it's just kind of, the big impetus behind the keyboard one was that, again, there's so many of these fucking powers and things to worry about in this game. It's like this big complex experience that like we needed something you guys can kind of see. But here's the thing, I don't think a lot of people even know about this. I tell people first thing, like when they start the game 2 times, that like you can hit F11 to bring up the control scheme. But I don't think a lot of people see it, or they might forget. So that's why you can see this is bound to help and controls right here, like on the gamepad. And I don't know what I'm gonna do about the keyboard. I'm almost thinking about putting something in like the corner that is just like an indicator to maybe try and press like the F11 button or whatever, like something that just like a help, like a really unintrusive like help widget that just says, hey, you can press this button to receive help, and then people will know about it. Because I feel like when you see this, you're also like, oh, like, look at all these different things that I can do. It kind of like intuitively sends the message to the player that these are like mechanics, right? So like if there's a button for washing and for drinking and for making a fire and for crafting items, you just intrinsically know at that point that those are things that you can do in the game. Because we always get users who are like, oh, this looks really cool, but we don't have that much tutorial content available yet, and we don't know, it's overwhelming. We don't know the fuck we're supposed to be doing, or like what the new options are that we can do. So this will hopefully help address that. Great Padinsky, it is it's kind of a combo of both. So I put together the overall thing in Photoshop, right? So these are all just like, you know, icons that I grabbed, and this is all Photoshop, like up here. This keyboard is like the basis of it is using a tool called Keyboard Layout Editor, which is really amazing, and I love it. It's just a really fantastic tool. So I took that and then I basically import it into my Photoshop document, and then kind of, you know, do all this other stuff that you see. So you can, like, what that allows you to do is, like, you know, color code your keys and, like, you know, type what they are and all that kind of stuff, and then you can import it, export it as like a PNG. Yes, so that's basically the idea. And I don't know, with that said, that was everything I planned on talking with you guys about today. I hope that it was illustrative. What actually triggers it to pop up in game, there's a button. You can either hit F11 or you can hit what's it called, left on the D-pad right here. Should make them press F11 as part of the game. Yes, most definitely. Be like, hey, that would be a good idea for like the tutorial. Something that where I'm just like, yo, please know that this is here, because people are gnarly. What happened to the side? So I had to move stuff off of the side mouse buttons because not everyone had. Another component of this control scheme is I really wanted to only have controls that people are guaranteed to have. This kind of doesn't work because not everyone has like a US keyboard. This is what I've learned, and that some things are different. So that's a problem we'll hopefully be able to address in the future. But at the very least, you know, the all of the controls that we offer should be ones, assuming you have a US keyboard, that everybody has. So like everyone's got a mouse 1 and 2 and a mouse wheel and a wheel up, down, that kind of thing. Right, sorry, is it a mod that you can assign an image? Ah, I understand, Great Paninsky, sorry. So this one I actually hooked into a matter of time, right? The, what's it called? The clock and, you know, this widget down here that has a million different things. So this one, a matter of time, I can show you. I basically just replaced the symbol in the SWF. It's like the default symbol, something like a sky dial, right, that we just didn't use at all. So I just replaced that one with my own custom PNG. With that said, like, obviously you can do that, and it's nice because it has built-in kind of, you know, hotkey controls, right? So it's very simple to kind of like set it how you want it to be. Yes, totally hacked it in there. But at this point now, we're doing all this stuff with the HUD where I need additional, like, I want additional ways to display stuff. So for that, if that's the case with you as well, and you could do exactly what I just showed you with this mod, I would go through I Want Widgets and the I Want Status Bars add-on, which adds a much easier frame, like, fucking with the HUD at all, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here because you would know this already. Fucking with Skyrim's HUD is such a huge pain in the ass. Fucking with the interface in any way, shape, or form is a huge pain in the butt. So the I Want Widgets and status bars were an attempt by this mod author to make that process a bit less painful, and they've been wildly successful in that. It's still not what I would call easy for like a layman, but if you're a, you know, modder like you are, I think you'll have no problem with it. And you can code custom functions and whatever, and it kind of allows you a framework to get stuff to display a bit more easily. Let's just arbitrarily assign this over here. Say hold display. So like these are just random widgets down there in the bottom. They don't. That's not how it's actually going to be. But you know, if you have a hotkey to display these things, then you can do, or you just have it always display, or just like all kinds of shit. Weather sense power is nice. Anyone knows a way to keybind it? Fun fact, Melloro, that is actually, I brought back Weather Sense. I was thinking about adding it to a keybind because that way I can use it with the control scheme, so I'm probably going to keybind it myself. Yes, the Flash decompiler is like, yeah, I mean, at least, well, if you've done all that stuff, then you know exactly what's up. That's all the kind of shit you would need to do. I did the same thing to like clean up the health bars down here, and I have like a custom sneak indicator on the way. And then there was one of the, oh yeah, I finally fucking got SkyHUD to display, to right align its notifications. I had to do that, or I didn't have to, but like I've wanted to do this for forever because, you know, the notifications being limited to like just left align over here just makes it so they get easily obscured like all the time by like UI elements and shit, right? finally, and like SkyHUD offers the ability to align other types of text in different ways, like as you specify, but it does not allow you to right align the notification text. So that's another little tweak that I made in the SWF file. So now I'm going to put notifications in the top right, because the top right is very, very rarely obscured by any part of the UI, and I thought that would be a much better way of making sure players are able to see the various notifications that still play. Right? Alright, y'all. Well, that pretty much does it for me. I actually do have to run because I have a meeting very quick here. Also, I gotta pee really, really badly. I guess I drank too much water because I've been talking too much. Yes, that's a big one, right? Engine Fit doesn't make quick saves in the main menu into regular saves. Only goes from a shortcut press. Oh, is that so, CatCut? Are you sure? Because I believe it would have to... Well, I'll double check, but I thought that it does as well. Total weight column. You can tell you have it. Yeah, that's in there, actually. We have it. Total weight's right here. It's with Sky AIO Survival. Alright, if that's the case, then I will check it out. Thank you so much, y'all. Yeah, so if you have any final questions, please hit me with them. I hope you've enjoyed what we showed off here today. It was a blast to show it all off to you, especially the jobs update shit. I'm like really stoked about that. Here it is, Steam Big Picture, everyone's favorite. Exit, minimize, well, whatever. No way, no release date. Soon, TM. Alright, y'all. Thank you very much for joining me. Let me see who is streaming. Arrow trajectory indicator for horseback. Oh man, that is one that would be really... Wait a second. I think that's not there? I thought that it was, but I could be wrong. Patch notes would come out when the release does. Tacos or burritos? If I had to pick one or the other, it would be burritos, but geez, I hope I'm never in a situation where that's the case. I hope I never have to make that kind of decision in my life. Okay, well, it looks like we got... I don't see any Skyrim peeps online right now, but I do got my favorite Castlevania speedrunner. If y'all are down, I cannot recommend highly enough. I think we rated him like a little while back, and I thought it was a really good time. But we're going to do it again. So if y'all are into Castlevania speedruns, we're going to be rating Jupiter Climb, who is a really fucking awesome, super entertaining as well. So I would strongly encourage you to check it out and stick around. But yeah, that pretty much does it for me this week, guys. If you have any additional questions after this, I would say, hit me up on Discord, on Reddit. Y'all know where we're at. Thank you so much for all of your continued interest and participation in the project. I really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed everything you saw here today. We're going to be hard at work on it between now and next week, and I should see you guys next week at the same time. Well, at noon. I was a little bit late today. Apologies for that. Oh, and yes, I hope you're enjoying Wildlander, and we really do appreciate that y'all are playing and enjoying yourselves. So thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Please stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I will see you next week. All right? Goodbye, everyone. Let's go say hi to Jupiter Climb. Let's do it. Bye.
Are there good Saitama sprites?
Bye, VOD watchers. Bye-bye.